Hello everyone, I'm Ben Mítčell, Editor-in-Chief of Skwigly Online Animation Magazine, who've been proud to partner up with the Linoleum Contemporary Animation and Media Art Festival for the I'm FINE project, which is supported by the British Council under the UK-Ukraine Season of Culture. I'm very pleased to introduce to you some of the filmmakers behind the incredible work shown for a special Q&A panel. And to kick things off, it would be great if everyone could introduce themselves and tell us a little about their film.
My name is Anna Sammo, and the film that is screening is Conversations with a Whale. The initial impulse to make the film was that my debut film was rejected by the film that I made right after the school was rejected by almost every festival there is. And I was so spoiled with being quite a successful student and having my films running everywhere that I felt that something was really wrong with me and with my art. And over the years, I felt like I just need to change how I work and my creative process. And this film was an attempt to do that. On one hand, it deals with all the rejections and how we as artists are somewhat dependent on other people seeing our work and appreciating what we do. But on the other hand, balancing it with why we actually do it. And it's my love letter to animation.
My name is Margarida. I'm from Portugal, and my film is called Playing Dead, and it's based on a book. The writer she's my aunt, and when she was 40, more or less, she had a stroke, and she's a journalist. She wrote about all her experience and fear of death, and I thought that it was a good story for transform into animation. So I also wanted to reflect about death and everything that reminds us about this theme. So for me, it was an exercise about this theme that no one wants to think about, and it was really hard to do. But in the end, I think I enjoyed working on this film and with this theme.
I'm Catherine Lepage. I'm an illustrator based in Montreal, Canada. And I made a short film called The Great Malaise, which is an animated story about perfection and then trying to perform or to achieve high goals and how this could take you down instead of where you want to go. This film is based on books that I wrote and illustrated a few years ago, starting from my own experience with depression. And I worked in advertising for many years, and all that stress and that, it's something that I enjoyed too, but somehow it's hard to find the balance between having fun working, and then it's just too much. And so that's the whole the background behind the story.
I'm Johnny Kelly. I'm an animator and director from Dublin, and the film I made is called Procrastination. I made it quite a long time ago, 2007. It was my graduation film from the Royal College of Art in London. The way the film came about, I had been a graphic designer up until my master's in animation, and I had been doing sort of annual reports, and a little bit like Catherine, the drudgery of commercial work was sort of getting me down. So the course itself was a big release to not suddenly, to spend 2 years learning about animation. Some people might say that I didn't learn a huge amount of animation. I would say that looking at the film, but I think conceptually it still rings true to me, 15 years later. And the way it came about was we could make a film about anything. And it felt like quite a scary prospect at the Royal College of Art. because, you know, all these incredible artists had gone through those doors. And so I sort of started out by making a quite a dark film, which is quite characteristic of Royal College of Art films. I was basically struggling with something that wasn't me. And my housemate gave me a book on procrastination. And the first thing it says in chapter 1 is write down all the ways you procrastinate. So I wrote a list, and suddenly, never thinking it would be a film, it just went, you know, on pages. It was just this sort of thing just poured out really easily after having spent sort of 4 months struggling writing.
My name is Julia Scala, and I made the film Azamaring together with my friend and co-director Oscar Jakobsson. And we did it as a semester project, which meant that it was like a very intense sort of thing to make. So when we started out, when we got together, it was basically that I wanted to make a film about the topic of crying, of like this catharsis of emotions. And my friend, he wanted to make a film about, Oscar wanted to make a film about rain and like the positive sides to it, that it's often portrayed as something very melodramatic and dark and negative. Whereas if you kind of open yourself up to it, then it can be really nice and enjoyable. And then we had this big brain moment where we were like, this is actually, one thing is a perfect metaphor for the other, and the ways that we want to see or portray it. So that kind of fell into place and was like a very good basis for collaboration. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Conrad. I made Pandiculation together with Jacob. We made it as our bachelor film in Volda, Volda University College Animation Bachelor. And the film came to be in like the school year that sort of COVID like started. So like we were in the middle of like production, like starting like cleanup phase when everything sort of locked down for the first time. So the film might seem like topical, but the concept was just completely, it was not thought of in the context of COVID at all. So it was more of a coincidence.
Hi, I'm Jacob. Kind of the whole background for the film was basically just that Conrad and I had agreed upon that we were going to make a film together, and then we just struggled with coming up with an idea. And then one day, I think it was I had like this insane yawn situation going on, and we looked at each other and we're like, hey, there's something here, we should make a film about this. And then the whole narrative with the meeting and the Zoom calls and stuff, that kind of came later. And then, as Conrad mentioned, we had the COVID thing, which kind of made it very, very relevant. So yeah.
My name is Jakub Przyszpin. I am the director of the film in art class, which was my high school diploma, and it was made just in the middle of lockdown. So it was quite, I think, a little bit different experience for me to do it in my home instead of school. Now I am a student at Polish Film School and also on animation.
My name is Anna Mantzais. I'm a filmmaker and animation director, and I work with stop motion animation. And I have the film Enough here in this screening. And it's a film I made my first year at the Royal College of Art when I took my master's there. And I think I was quite lucky with the approach, because my like mental state at that point was like, this is a film that is less important than the second year film. So I can just have fun and I can try something weird and I can play around, and maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does. So I think I was more bold in a sense, because it was like less pressure on that film. So I think it started from that I really wanted to make something about someone like having enough and revolting against like a very like mundane everyday oppression, feeling like maybe working in an office or commuting. I was also just moved to London, and I started to like commute in the rush hour, and I also could feel like a lot of tension there and a lot of frustration. And So I was inspired by this feeling of like having enough and just like rebelling against everyday life, but in a not so cool way maybe, but in a very like way that you will relate to a lot. So that's how I started with the idea. And I was also inspired by moving to London, I think. And then I tried for some time to like make one story based on this, but nothing felt like completely right or completely what I wanted to do. So I think I had like a lot of small ideas, but I didn't know how to make one of them into like one film. And then I think I talked with a classmate and he was like, but why don't you do all of them? Like, you don't have to choose one. And I was like, oh yeah, that could actually be really fun. And that really inspired me as a way of working, of like, I don't have to pick one character and do like a hero's journey of them rebelling. I can just do more like that all of the stories together tell the bigger stories.
I'm Fabienne. I am the director of the film Tick. I did that in co-direction with Levin, who can't be here today. And the project was part of our studies. We're film students at the Film Academy in Germany. And it was our project that we had to do in our second year. And we had, I think, rough about half a year for like the developing production, animating, all in total. And that's kind of what came out of it.